Hello everybody, my name is Victor Bravo and I'm with Lithia Subaru of Fresno, and I'm super excited to be putting together this video on the 2019 Subaru Crosstrek. It's an amazing car. We're going to start with under the hood, then we're going to go to the middle of the car, in the back, and we're going to talk about the all-wheel drive system and what separates Subaru from everybody else that's out there in the market. Just give me a second. Let's start off by popping the hood. Follow me down here. Let me show you where the latch is to pop the hood. It's tucked right under here. A little trick when you're popping the hood in a Subaru, if you line your hand up with the emblem, just slide your hand straight under and your fingers are always going to catch the little lever here. It's pretty cool. So that way you're not guessing, is it up, is it down, is it... Little cool trick. So if you're coming from a Toyota, Mazda, Honda, Kia, Mercedes, BMW, Ford, Dodge, Chevy, then you're going to be used to their motors. Their pistons are punching in a V like this. Or sometimes you've heard of an inline motor where the pistons are moving like this. So our motors are called horizontally opposed or boxer motors because they're punching horizontally this way. So a lot of people are calling them a pancake motor because they're so flat. They don't need the space to travel this way. So the reason why that's important to you is, well, Subaru, for starters, they place our motor perfectly in the center of the engine bay. So if you were to slice this car in half, the right side weighs the exact same as the left side. They're perfectly balanced from left to right. And that's where the symmetry comes from in the symmetrical all-wheel drive, giving us a low center of gravity, giving you really cool control of your car. But moving over here, we're looking at the engine air filter here. They color code everything yellow. Those are the things that you'd want to check before you go on a really long drive. And I love the fact that Subaru puts the oil filter right on top. It makes it really easy if you're a hands-on, do-it-yourself kind of person, which is really cool. And then right over here, this is the map for all your fuses and where they go. And they put extra fuses in here for you too. If you take a look under here, some salespeople will say, oh, these little plastic pieces have a low melting point. And if your engine ever catches on fire, this drops down and puts the fire out. Those guys are boneheads. That is sound dampening material there. The same material is down there on the firewall and under the car as well. Now, these little indents here, we call those crumple zones. Now, they're weak spots. So if you were to ever get into a front-end collision, they're designed to collapse like an accordion or like a Coke can. Let me give you an example. So I have a can here, and if I was to push on it, it's very hard to squeeze it or to crumble it. If I squeeze it here and make it weak, then it easily collapses. Now, the benefit of that is all the energy from the crash doesn't get transferred into the cabin where you're at with your family. It's very cool, very safe for you. Have you ever been driving at night and some of the lights scattered over here and some of the lights scattered over here, and it's sometimes hard to see? Well, with the Subaru, they call this a Hawkeye headlight. And the cool thing is that the lights are set in a cone. And in 5, 10, 15 years, they're still gonna be in a cone. Now, on the limited trim level, it has something called steering responsive headlights, which is really cool because when you turn the steering wheel to the left, lights move left. When you turn the wheel to the right, lights move right. And as this is really important, especially if you're going around a mountain, the light's gonna get there before you do, always giving you the best visibility, which is very cool. So here we are looking at an 18-inch rim. This is the design for the limited trim level, and these are all-season tires. The cool thing about what Subaru's doing is there's disc brakes all the way around. There's no more drum brakes, giving you the ability to stop on a dime, giving you the most safety, which is always the goal. So let's talk about visibility. I know a lot of salespeople don't talk about visibility when they sell cars because all the other manufacturers have horrible visibility. So one of the cool things that Subaru does is because our motors are boxer motors or pancake motors, our engineers call this an aggressive hood slant or slope. They're able to make our hoods at a steeper angle because our motors are pancake motors. Now, the reason why that's important to you is when your seat's adjusted in here, your ability to see up and over the hood is fantastic. One of the things that I love that Subaru does is they place the mirror of our cars on the body. It's not covering this whole corner section of the window like all the other competition does, creating a big blind spot. Now, they do that for cyclists and people on crosswalks for better visibility for the driver. Now, another cool thing about our mirrors is they have the blinker on them, but they also call that a braking mirror because if you had to squeeze into a tight place or if somebody was to come by, you're not going to rip the mirror off. It moves, which is super cool. Now, one of the cool things that Subaru does is they use more boron steel than any other manufacturer, and that's how they're able to get our pillars so thin. Do you see how thin that is, John? So this is A pillar, this is B pillar, and that's C pillar in the back. Now, if you were to take a saw and cut this right here, what you would see, Subaru has something called ring shape technology. If you were to take a saw and cut that, you would see a piece of steel this big. Inside that is another piece of steel, and another piece of steel, and another piece of steel, until it's a solid bar. So as it collapses on itself, it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, keeping you safe, which is really cool. If you can see here, that big bolt, that's called an engagement pin, and that gets locked into the frame of the car. So if you were to ever run into the back of somebody on the freeway and somebody was to come in and slam into the back of your car, our doors never buckled this way. So it's very rare that first responders ever need the jaws of life to get people out of Subarus, because our door's always open. Subaru has this really cool feature. It's called reverse automatic braking. And the way it works is, if you're going under 10 miles an hour and whatever back here is taller than these sensors here, if you don't hit the brake, the car's gonna brake for you. Now, you'll always be able to see everything that's back here in a really cool cone-like view with the backup camera. Now, that's been standard since 2015. I have a really cool video for you to check out. Know what you think? Automatic braking.
Don't do that shit again.
Yeah, the cool thing about our cars is we have an 8.7-inch ground clearance. Now, if you look down here, we don't have any big bulky boxes or transfer cases that are hanging out under our cars, so it's a straight shot all the way down. So if you're going off the unbeaten path or going off-roading, you don't have to worry about anything bumping the bottom of your car because you have plenty of ground clearance. Very cool. Gives you the ability to go wherever you want. I'm very happy to announce that Subaru has something called Starlink. Now, what Starlink is if you're ever stuck on the side of the road and you need help, you can always hit the red button on the side, or if you ever have any questions about your car and you need some information, there's an information button, and you just hit the blue button on the top. Very cool safety feature. It really ties in everything with the ownership of your car, allowing you to control it from your phone. Yep. We have something called blind spot detection, which is this right here. Now, come with me back here. They send out a radar in the back of the car in a 45-degree angle this way. So if somebody is here, that light is going to turn orange. Now, if you put the blinker on while the light is lit up orange, the car is going to think that you're making a lane change with somebody there, and then it starts to flash at you. So if it's lit up orange or it's flashing, do not move over because there's a vehicle here. Now, we have a really cool feature, and it's called rear cross traffic alert. And it uses the same radars that it uses for the blind spot detection to pick up traffic that's coming behind you. Now, let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Let's say you're parked at Target or you're parked at Costco, and you're here. A big truck decides to park onto your right, and another big truck decides to park on your left. Now, you got to back up, and you can't see in either direction, so you're blacking up blind. So with those radars, what they're doing is they're picking up the traffic. If somebody is coming from your right side, on the stereo on the inside, on the screen, it'll go and let you know that somebody's coming from your right. If they're coming from your left, it shows up on the left side of your screen and lets you know that somebody's coming from your left. Always giving you the best safety, which is really cool. Now, same rule applies for popping the hood. If you line your hand up with the emblem back here, right down here, there's a little button. It's almost like a pad. That's what you use to pop the trunk. Very cool. Not the most cargo space, but there is plenty of room. If you wanted to put a couple of suitcases, some backpacks, laptops, stuff like that, plenty of space. They give you this privacy protector as well, and that is so you can hide everything. They recommend you use it during the holiday seasons and during the summertime because people get desperate and break into cars. That way just people can't see what you have hiding back here. Now, this thing is spring loaded, so if you take it, and that's how you're able to get it in place. Now, this mat is really cool. So if you go to the beach, you go to the desert, you're doing gardening, stuff like that, when this gets dirty, just take it out and hit it with the hose. Now, on the limited trim level, we have these back seat protectors. It's just an extension of this mat. So if you were to lay these seats down and throw a bike back here, you don't ever have to worry about tearing the cloth that's in the back of your seat. Very cool. Now, you have to manually lay the seats down. There's a little button here, and then you can just push. Little button here. Can you see that, John? Push. Yeah. And then if you look down here, can you get into this, John? See these little straps? You can take those, so that way you can access the spare tire and your tools and the jack if you were to ever get a blowout. With the seats in the upright position, you have 20 cubic feet of cargo space. Now, if you were to lay these down, then you have 55 cubic feet. That's plenty of space. So, instead of sleeping in the doghouse, if you get in a fight with your significant other, you can always crash in your Crosstrek. One of the things that I love that Subaru does is, especially for tall people like me, I'm 6'1", and I can sit back here really comfortably because they cut out the back of the seat here, just giving you extra knee and swinging legroom to get in and out of the car, which is really cool. So on the limited trim level of the Subaru, which is the highest trim level you can get of the Crosstrek, if this is your first time having a smart key, which there's no key to stick, there's no ignition to stick the key in, a little trick, if you keep your foot off of the brake and you just hit the start button one time, that's equivalent to sticking your key in the ignition and clicking it once. Now, if you want the accessories to turn on so you can listen to music and all that other stuff, you click it twice, that's equivalent to 2 clicks. Now, if you put your foot on the brake and push the button, that's going to turn the engine over. And that's just like sticking your key in and cranking it on. Little tip. Okay, so battery life on these should be good for 2 to 3 years. Now, when the battery starts to go low, there's a little button here in the back. You push that button and you can take the key out. And then you can take this key and unlock the door with it. Now, when it's gotten to the point where the battery's so dead that it won't unlock the door and you have to take the key out to start it, what you want to do is take the key fob, hold it up to the start button, it's for like a second or two, and then put your foot on the brake and you'll be able to start your car. Now, you can get away with that for about 2 to 3 days. By then, either switch to the other key that you get or go to your local dealer and have them replace the battery for you. Very cool. The sun visor, you have a vanity mirror that is lit up on both sides. Ah! And there's a cool extender to block the sun from your face. Super cool. Okay, so this Crosstrek has Eyesight, and that's what these 2 front-facing cameras are here. So when it comes to adjusting your mirror, everybody wants to grab the mirror like this, but the cameras are there. So a little tip, just use your thumbs and get it right where you want it, which is very cool. Now, talking about Eyesight, once you set your cruise control, there's a car here, and then once these cameras see the car in front of it, another car is going to appear here, showing that the car's locked on. When that car hits its brakes, your car's automatically going to slow down. Now, it says that there's no eyesight because the car's not on. To turn on the cruise control, you hit this button here. It's saying eyesight's off, but that's how you turn the cruise on. Then you tap this button down to set your cruise. Now, this button here is to increase the distance from the cars that are in front of you. If you want to shorten that distance, then you hit this button here. This button is the car's ability to bump the steering wheel and put you back in the center of the lane if you were getting sleepy and starting to drift over. If you look up here, John, that button right there is called the lane departure button, and you got to push it and hold it for almost 3 seconds to turn it off. But that's the car's, so when these cameras are reading the lines in the road and you start to get sleepy and drift over, then it goes, makes a loud auditory sound, and then it bumps the steering wheel and puts you back in the center of the lane. And this button right here is to turn off the car's ability to stop on its own. The only time I would recommend you turn it off is if you go through one of those car washes that use the beater bars that, you know, hit your car, because then when it hits on this windshield, the car's going to want to stop every time because it thinks something is right there. Yeah. And then we have the E here, and that's just letting you know that we're facing east. Now, the buttons tucked down under here, those are for your garage door openers, and that's just to turn off your compass. I'm not sure if the camera's going to be able to pick up on this little frame here, but this mirror, it dims automatically. There used to be a button that you would hit like this, and then it would pop the mirror up if somebody was behind you with real bright lights. Now the side mirrors and these mirrors just dim automatically, which is cool. So let's talk about this screen in our stereo. Now, our head units are now made by Harman Kardon, which is really cool. So if you think about this home button here, it's always going to take you back to these 8 options. I like to think of it like the desktop of your computer. Now, when your phone is plugged in and it's tethered into this USB port here, you want to feed your cord through that, so that way you're not smashing your cord every time. If you have an iPhone, then Apple CarPlay is going to show up. If you have an Android, then Android Auto is going to show up. But it's really cool because now you can use the navigation right from your phone. Or you can listen to your music. Audiobooks, podcasts, text messages. And what's really cool is if somebody shoots you a text message, it'll read it out to you. So no more looking down at your phone and wondering, like, oh, and taking your eyes off of the road. Making it much more of a safer drive, which is very cool. Those are your hazard lights here. Blowers for your air conditioner. If you want to cool it down, it'll show you up here that it's cool. And if you want to raise the temperature, you can do it there by twisting this knob. Now, mode is going to take it from your face to your feet and face, just your feet and defrost, back to your face. Now, a lot of people confuse this button and this button. This one here is for this vent, these vents here in the center, and this vent here. This button is for the side mirrors, the heaters under the windshield wiper blades, and the lines in the back window for defrosting. And when it's 100 and 1,000 degrees outside, you just hit that button there, and that's how you're going to cool your car down the fastest. Now, one of the things that I love in the Crosstrek is if you put it in drive, you're in drive here, and then it shows you the D down here. But if you go here, then that puts you into manual mode. That's what the M stands for. If you hit this button here, this paddle, that'll take you to second gear. If you hit the negative paddle here, that drops you down to first gear. So you can drive the car like a stick shift without using a clutch, which is very cool. So these are the booty warmers here. That's high, that's low, that's off. Now we have X mode here. When you hit the X mode button, it's going to show up here, and it's going to say X mode on the center display screen as well. Now it's showing that little car going down a hill because it's got downhill assist. So basically what that is, instead of gravity pulling you down, it's going to crawl you down. And I have a really cool video to show you about that. But what it does is it splits the power 50% to the front, 50% to the back, and it delivers 25 to each wheel. So anytime you need extra grip to your wheels, you're crossing a river, you're going up a really steep icy road, going through mud, as long as you're going under 35 miles an hour, hit X mode and you have awesome traction. Moving over to the left side of the steering wheel, this button here is to skip a song or a station. That's to go in the opposite direction. You hit it up for volume, hit it down to turn the music down. Source is going to take you from AM to FM to CD, Bluetooth, however you want to listen to your music. Info is going to control that screen over there, but I'll show you that in just a minute. This right here is to answer a phone call or to access Siri by holding down the volume button or the phone button. This right here is to hang up a conversation. These buttons back here, can you see that, John? take you through the different screens in the center display. So that's your tire pressure, your miles per hour. Car's been running for 12 minutes. We can travel 60 miles with the gas that's in our tank. Back to your average on trip B. Now, let's talk about this screen up here. Now, you access these different menus by hitting the info button on the steering wheel. Reverse automatic braking, blind spot detection, temperature, the air's coming out at your face, and it's 8:51 p.m. Now, this is a cool screen because it shows you what degree angle you're at. And this is a really cool screen to be on because when you're driving in the snow, the wheels are going to turn green. When the wheel slips, it'll turn red, so you know what wheels have traction. And that's the screen for eyesight. Oil temperature. Average speed is 10 miles an hour. We're facing north. And we're listening to My Morning Jacket. Fuel economy. And it's the last day of September. Happy Sunday, everybody. On the limited trim level, you're going to get the Harman Kardon speakers, which sounds amazing. You have a water bottle holder here, and then it comes with this really awesome orange stitching. Subaru calls this a multi-texture interior because of the different feelings, and then it has this brushed aluminum with this carbon fiber looking material here, which is really cool, gives it a sporty look. Now, to adjust your side mirrors, you twist this to the left and you use it like a joystick. To get the other mirror, you twist that to the right. Use it like a joystick. Lock and unlock windows are automatically with just one touch. And then that is to lock the windows so nobody else can roll their windows down. Very cool. Now, moving right over here, the SRH, that stands for steering responsive headlights. So when you turn the wheel to the left, the headlights move to the left. When you turn it to the right, they move right. If your eyes are sensitive at night, you can turn down the dashboard lights. When the two dots are lined up, that's at its brightest potential. This is the traction control, and that's how you turn off your blind spot detection. Now, on the limited trim level, it comes with an automatic seat. If you hit the back of the button, that tilts your booty up so you can come up and closer. So if you come too close, you may need to move yourself back. That brings this forward and backwards there. And don't forget, the release for the gas tank is down by the left angle here on the front. Very cool. I almost forgot. So not only does the eyesight read the lines in the road and the traffic in front of you and slow you down when you're using your cruise control, but it also sees humans. Now, it worked for my buddy John, but my friend Lester wasn't as fortunate. So that's my next point. It's never intended to replace the human. It's there to assist you. So you being a focused driver is always the best practice.